Hello, and welcome back to our podcast, The PhD Journey. I am Dr. Marilyn Ward, and this is my friend Dr. Sarah Gordon. And so today we're going to talk about the mental toll, the anxiety, the burnout, and the self-doubt. And if you're in the middle of your PhD journey, maybe thinking about it, have already completed, this is going to be a good one for you. So please stay tuned. If you have questions or comments, we would love to know about them because this podcast, I think it's going to be a very evolving podcast, right? Don't you think,
Yes,
Dr.
I
Gordon?
I would like to say, first of all, so excited to be back for our second episode. Marilyn and I have been super busy in the last week, and we're excited to share that we are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. So you can find the PhD Journey Unplugged on all three platforms. And we've really been putting our heart into this, and we hope that you enjoy our discussion today. As Marilyn said, we're gonna talk about the mental toll, the mental health aspect of the PhD journey from our reflections and our experiences. And there's a lot to this conversation. We'll try our best to include as much as we can, um, and make it substantial for you. So yeah, I'm excited to get started.
Great.
Episode two.
So, yes, I think there's a lot to be said about the stress during this journey. So, we're going to kind of talk about the stress, the real talk, things that kind of some challenges, again, like we're going to, little bit of that imposter syndrome, like we talked about last week, because it does kind of affect us. The work-life balance, I think that's a big one. We won't leave without sharing some coping mechanisms and some action steps for you. So I think so that's kind of a little bit of the outline that we're going to try to stick to as best as possible. But this is real and we're here and we want to share also genuinely just what comes to our mind during this talk. So
Exactly. And I just want to say last week we had talked about inviting a classmate of ours who just
yeah,
completed the program to talk about burnout and stress and anxiety. He actually wasn't able to join us this week. He has a busy ER profession, but we are going to get him on the future. He is definitely interested in joining us, so we will do that on a future episode.
yes. And while we're talking about that, my daughter's professor, thank you, Dr. Yokel, she gave us a wonderful comment and hopefully we could get her on here as well. She is EDD, so I think it's awesome that other doctoral, participants or other, people out there are listening, and because we all are going through that. We all went through that journey, and I know Sarah, both of us in our class, we had a lot of students that had more than one PhD, correct?
Yes. And
So
and as we dive into this topic, there people were juggling a lot of different things while
yeah,
working on their doctorate. Like I said, ER physicians, working two jobs, getting married, having babies, losing parents. I mean, I know classmates who lost, their parents during this journey. So there's a lot of things that you are kind of outside of your control that
right,
impact the mental toll of the journey. And we can only control so much while we're
right.
kind of navigating all the other stuff that's going on. So,
Ab Absolutely.
one thing before we get started is I want to make sure our listeners understand that we did this program online and it's called asynchronous learning. So there are definitely some challenges to that we can talk about, as far as when we talk about isolation and different things that create, stress. So
Yes, it is different. I've been on all of my, I think my bachelor's, my master's, and my PhD were all online. So for me, that like having that previous experience was great. Like I already understood and knew time management and to be self-motivated. But for those of you that maybe, yeah, this being new to you, being online, Yeah, that can be very stressful. I think we had a few students that were like, this is the first time I've ever had to be at my own realm of keeping track of things. I was like, oh yeah, because yeah, that's, an extra stressor for sure.
Right.
So,
I mean, and as we kind of open up this discussion today, we wanted to talk about kind of like that feeling of isolation. So
yeah,
what we did and from our journey and from our experiences, we built our community. And so
yes,
we reached out and we made connections because the program doesn't necessarily offer that to you. So
no,
I think humans need that connection. And I think that that's one way that we kind of handled that, isolation feeling.
yes,
What do you
for
think?
sure. I think so. So, and it's funny on here, how we talk about the isolation. Mine, and it was, excuse me. So during it, I didn't feel isolated from other students. I did feel a little bit isolated from professors, like I do feel if you're some of the professors, if they were not exactly in your field of study, it you kind of felt like they're like, yeah, okay, keep rolling or whatever, but they didn't take a genuine interest. So I did notice a little bit of that, but I felt more isolated within my family or my circle of friends
Mm-hmm.
who didn't understand what I was going through, didn't understand the pressures, didn't understand the importance, the severity of having to be on top of everything.
Hmm.
You can't, there's no room for that. Like I said, missed assignments. And that's where I felt isolated and reaching out to other students, which that honestly didn't happen for me. I didn't grow a relationship with some of my cohorts until almost towards the end of the journey. And I wish, like your Facebook group that you started, didn't even know anything about it. Somehow I missed that along the way. I would have loved to, because I think misery loves company. I think it would have been nice to like talk about some of those problems while we were going through it. So I think I felt more isolated in my own home than I did like with class and school or with classmates.
Yeah, and that's such a great point because we started during COVID.
Yes.
And that was just such a stressful time for everybody. And I think as we reflect on our journey and we think about, we get some more years and distance, in the mountains further behind us
Right.
that we just conquered. I mean, that was a stressful time. We talk about the mental toll and anxiety. That was just a stressful time for everybody.
Everybody.
And we went on to this online platform to go to school, and a lot of people were feeling isolation and stress and anxiety during that period of time. So I think it's an
Yeah.
interesting kind of an interesting cultural experience on
Oh,
top of
yeah.
the experience we had academically.
Yes, because you couldn't even go out and because you and I even live far away from each other. It's not like we could have just said, "Hey, let's meet at the Starbucks and get together." But even for some of the students that did, for some people who could go and meet up with others, I had a professor that would visit Florida and he would come to Sarasota. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I would love to meet you." Well, it was during COVID, so I couldn't meet him anyways. Now, granted, Florida was a little more loose with their rules during COVID than some of the other states, but I think we missed out on an opportunity to be able to meet with each other face to face,
Yeah.
where, in another time you could have.
Yeah, it was in some ways it was limiting, but in other ways it was kind of a blessing to find this program during
Oh,
that time
yes.
too. So it was interesting. It's just an interesting time, like sociologically, to think about,
Now,
going,
all the studies they're
yeah,
doing now because of
right,
COVID,
right.
and
So
this
much
part of it.
research on
Yes.
isolation and anxiety and burnout. There's so much research now from COVID,
Oh, yeah.
from
So
when we started this program. So I think
I
that's
was surprised to see a lot of studies when we were going through that, that COVID was a part of it. I was like, oh, wow.
Mhm.
So it's interesting that we can say that that's part of our history now. Like we get to talk about that.
So I'm just curious as we think back, and I was, to prepare for this week, I was looking at some research about burnout and the mental toll of being a doctoral student. And it's interesting because it's not just PhD students. It's really,
No.
you know, impacts so many people in so many ways.
Oh, yes.
And I'm just curious as we think about this today and we talk about it, like why do you think it took such a toll on us? And do you think it changed from year one to year two, towards the end, when we were wrapping up? Do you
Oh,
think the level of
I
stress?
feel like it was a roller coaster. I feel like burnout happens everywhere.
Mm.
I do a burnout class. I teach a seminar on caregiver burnout in the senior population and or anybody acting as a caregiver. So burnout, it does affect us everywhere. And I think with just academics, I think it started off as a burn, like I was scared. So, it already started to take that mental toll and you're stressing, so you're trying to do everything. Then it kind of let up a little bit, right? We kind of got into a groove. We felt like, hey, this is okay. And then the deadline started to come. So I felt towards the end, comp exams and the comp exams were no joke, so you're trying to study for that. You actually, a couple of the professors had these little sit downs that you could um, kind of pep talk or prep talk, I guess, for you. And then the actual deadlines of the dissertation, right? Soon as that rolled out and you had kind of that time frame in front of you, I was nervous Nelly. Am I going to get because I had a intervention. So I had an 8 week intervention. So technically 10 weeks, week ahead, preparing, getting the paperwork, the questionnaires, then the 8 week intervention, and then the data analyzation. And I just was like, if you miss one step, you had to have a certain amount of the stuff done to do your pre and yeah. So I think it definitely went and yours, I think you had a little bit different of a study.
Yeah, and I think what you're touching on as you're sharing yours, and I'm happy to share about mine as well, but it's kind of like managing this like perfectionism.
Ah, yeah,
And it doesn't matter if you're a doctoral student or anything in your life. It's kind of like, and even when we were starting today, we're
yeah,
excited. We want to bring great information to our listeners. And it's kind of like putting that pressure. We talked about it last week a little bit, like just putting that pressure on yourself to be
right.
perfect. And the truth is, like, none of us are perfect. Like,
No.
you know, we're just
I always
human.
joke and say 99.9%.
Right. We're just humans. We want to work hard. We want to try hard. We're not perfect. And so we got to let that go and just be authentically ourselves.
And
Um,
it's funny
but
because nobody like I'm thinking like half the people in our class we were never going to meet, never going to see. Now you and I happen to,
we're
connect,
blessed.
but I'm like, but why do we care so much about what other people think, especially about other people who we don't even know
Well, I think because it
because we want to give
it
our best.
and it means something to us.
Yeah.
It was deeply personal for us and for different reasons.
Yeah.
And it meant something to us. So I think whatever you're doing in your life, if you have a passion for something, I think that you care about doing it well.
I
Um,
think so.
and then I think you were also talking about like constantly evaluating your work. And I kind of noticed that with myself in the beginning. So I would say like for year one, I did a lot of that. And
Yeah.
then I said to myself, hey, Sarah, you decided to take this leap of faith. You're here because you want to be here. Just enjoy it. Enjoy learning
Right.
and let go of all that, like, intensity in terms of evaluating my work and comparing myself to others. So once
Hearing,
I kind of
yes.
did that kind of self-talk, and maybe that's a strategy, and
Right.
just said, I'm here because I want to be here. I don't know. It's like, it's just a lot of that lifted.
It's funny because we say it as a coach in training all the time. I'll say the only person you're in competition with is yourself.
Yeah.
Be a better version of yourself today than you were yesterday. And you're only trying to impress. You can look at people around you, but they have their own, right? They're their own individual. So you just focus on you. And but what do? We can't help it to compare.
Well,
And
and the interesting thing is when you open up conversations with people, even strangers, and I'll give you an amazing example, you find out that we're all going through some very similar experiences
yeah.
in life and feelings. And I mean, and I won't mention any names, but I'll just tell you, I just had this wonderful um, interaction with somebody who was at Lowe's who happened to be a writer and a podcaster. I mean, just
Oh, nice.
coincidentally. And I just talked about like burnout and as far as the PhD journey, and he was sharing just about burnout from his experiences in life. So I think that the things that we experience are have they impact people on a broader basis too. Um,
Yes.
and I think if we just take opportunities sometimes just to talk to people and how are you feeling, you realize, wow, we are so more connected than we may believe. Like our classmates, everybody's
Yes.
probably feeling the same way we were feeling.
Yes, and
You
that's where
know?
I think like that's like one of the strategies or action steps that we'll talk about at the end, but it's definitely just knowing that you're not alone. Just
Yeah.
knowing that you're also somebody else is going through this with you or has already done it and can help walk you through those challenges because the one thing you don't want to do is and there's burnout quizzes. Like when I was doing a presentation, there's an actual burnout. There's several different ones. They're kind of lengthy and you do them online, but it'll pick out some points where it'll tell you like, hey, you're getting there, like you need
Yeah.
to, seek help. There's always these strategies of seeking help, talking it out, meditation. We'll get to all that, but it's like you start to see those signs and you take them seriously, right? Like if you,
I mean, absolutely. I mean, in all transparency and honesty to our listeners, like I feel like I'm still kind of recovering from burnout. I mean, and I think for a lot of people, it has to do with sleep and lack of
yeah,
sleep. Because I know as we were trying to meet our deadlines and maintain the expectations of the program, for a lot of us, like life didn't wait for us. We were out there doing everything
oh,
else,
doing
caring for an aging
everything.
parent, working jobs, all these things. And for me, a lot of my work started like at 9 o'clock at night. And
Yeah.
so, when it was quiet. So I think the challenge of sleep deprivation is so real and
Oh,
quality of sleep is so real for so many people. And I think it's a major factor when we talk about the mental toll of pursuing anything, whether it's an
yeah.
athletic goal, an academic goal, whatever it is in your life. I think that we need to understand how important quality sleep is. What do you
Yes.
think? Did that impact you too? Because I
Oh,
know
yeah. And I think,
it
unfortunately, you are so consumed with the work. I
may.
would wake up in the middle of the night, freaking out, thinking that I ran the wrong test. I should have ran, an independent T test as opposed to, a Pearson. And I'm just like, what am I doing? I would second guess myself. And because at night I'm trying to relax, but at the same time, all these thoughts are going through my mind. And I remember several times waking up, running out to the computer, rechecking my data, like, oh my gosh, did I remember this? And oh my God. I mean, almost to the day right before, I think I might have even called you or texted you and was like, oh my gosh, I think I wrong the RAND test.
I do think I remember
So,
that actually. I'm like, Marilyn, relax, calm down. It's
yes.
gonna be
Oh my gosh.
okay.
And I'm like, I know this stuff. I know it. Like, what am I doing? But it's again, perfectionism, the mental toll, the lack of sleep, the
Yeah.
everything. And
And
it was fine.
I
It was
think
fine.
burnout is real. And
Yes.
I don't know that we necessarily recognize what it was. Like emotional exhaustion, lack of sleep, pressure. And I think it's real for whether you're in medical school, dental school, whatever you're doing,
Oh, yes.
training, like I said, for something, athletic. Um, I don't think that we allow ourselves to rest.
Right.
That it's okay to rest. And for me, when we were going through the program, especially when my brain was just absolutely taxed, I would just go out and take a nature walk just to
Yes.
balance the rigor of the cognitive intensity of the learning. And I think like as we try to share with people and our listeners about, our experiences, I just think it's important to have a balance somehow, whatever it is
Yes.
for you.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up about the balance because part of that is the work life imbalance, and to me, it really wasn't work life as much as it was like social or family life.
Right.
And so that balance, when you said you just got to walk away or, put it away and walk outside,
Time in
that's
nature.
so, yeah, it's so important. We think in our brains, like, I can't, I got to get this done. But if you don't, it's going to be terrible. So you do have to do that. And at the same time, I finally had to realize I needed a day for my family, at least. So I tried to make Saturdays like a day, one day where I wasn't, and you kind of know your schedule, so you can kind of pick it. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to work really hard Friday. I know Sunday's a really easy day. I'm going to pick back up on Sunday. Give me Saturday, give myself and my family Saturday so that I could disconnect, you know, have some downtime, get your mind away from it. Because I think Dr. Fritch, one of our both of us, I think had her as a chair. She used to say, walk away, just walk
Right.
away from it for the weekend or for the day. Come back, you'll feel refreshed. Um, so I think that was really awesome advice.
Yeah, and I think that you're talking about balance, balance in life. And
Yes.
like I keep saying, like even though we're reflecting on our PhD journey, I think for our listeners, whoever stumbles upon our podcast and is not necessarily considering a PhD or getting a PhD, the things that we learn and things that we're talking about are so applicable to anybody.
Oh,
Finding
yeah.
balance in your life, wherever you are, you, your body, and we know from exercise science, physiology, you can't stay in a heightened state of alertness and performance all the time because when you do that, your body gets sick in some way. It
Oh,
can't
yeah.
handle that. So you really need opportunities to have some balance, meditation,
Yes.
yoga, walks, listen to music. I mean, whatever it is,
Yeah, there's so
um,
many
you have,
talking to others. I think talking
yes,
like even like when getting ready for the comp exam and just talking with other cohorts, talking with I had Dr. Winchester had did ours and just talking to him and the other students, I just felt it put me at ease. It made me nervous because it was like, well, this is what happens if you fail. But it put me at ease, one, knowing that we all were nervous. We all were in it together. We were all rooting for each other. So it's like you're trying to be your own inner cheerleader, but we were also, cheering each other on. And then just knowing that the professors, that were teaching us and getting us ready or preparing us, they were really genuinely concerned. I think there was not and at least any of mine, that I didn't feel like they wanted us to fail, right? They wanted us to succeed.
and that's such a great point because failure. We're all so scared of failure. But if you read about anybody who's been, really successful in their life, they
Yeah.
they they failed at some point
At some point,
because that's where you learn. And so, and I guess when I think about that, about failure, I think it's kind of, well, what do you do with it? Okay?
uh,
What do you do in that moment, wherever you are in your life? If you just feel like you're just not there, or you've had some major setback, what do you do with it? Do you let it
I,
like beat you up and keep you down, or do you take a deep breath and just get back and get
yeah,
stronger? It's really how what you do with it. What do you
yeah,
think?
I will share you my main failures in life. And I tell this to my kids all the time, or each time if one of them fail, because I think that being able to fail and get back up
Yes.
separates you from, like that's the success difference. So way back, basic training. I was there for basic training for the Air Force was 8 weeks, or was it 6 weeks? 6 weeks. Well, I failed my last PT. Of all things, a physical, the fitness test, I failed. And then I became a trainer and trained airmen in the military. But I failed. I got recycled back 2 weeks. It was right before graduation. My mom already bought plane tickets. I failed. You want to talk about disappointment. So got recycled, did great, passed, everything, went on with my military career. Fast forward, I was getting my master's degree. I was doing the EOC. There's only three questions on the EOC. I failed two of them. What do I do? Roll up the sleeves, go back, study, pass it. And I could have quit. I just said, the heck with it. I could have quit. So, and even to get my master's, I had to take a GMAT or MRE, the test. I failed that before I could even get into the master's. Took it again, passed, I had to pay for it. And then PhD, I failed my first comp exam. So that was not easy because I was like, oh my gosh, it set me back 6 weeks. I think we had to wait 6 weeks
Yeah.
to redo it, retake it. So I failed. And so I tell my kids, I don't want to hear like I'm gonna quit because I failed. Like I don't allow that because I'm
But,
like,
but Marilyn,
makes you stronger.
where does that come from? Because not, I don't want people to feel like everybody has to be that way or
No,
everybody should be that way. I think the lesson is like, don't be discouraged.
don't be discouraged.
Don't be
Don't let that
discouraged
failure be your,
because, and there's
yeah,
people out there who want, like you said about some of our professors, like people want you to be successful. And I
yes,
guess the lesson there is don't be afraid to ask for help. There are people out there
right.
who actually enjoy helping other people. If
It
you
is
come across somebody who doesn't come across that way, move on because they are out
right.
there. Because we're like that. We love to help other people.
I love it.
Love to pick
It's how
people
bad
up.
my,
People picked us up. It goes both
yes.
ways. You
I
know,
always ask you about how bad do you want it? How bad do you want that goal, that dream, that success? Because if it takes just one little failure to knock you off your horse and to say, I quit, I give up, then you didn't want it bad enough. Like,
you just weren't,
like
or
you
I would also say maybe you just weren't at a place where you
maybe
understood
you weren't ready for it yet. You weren't
because we're all
because
like at different
remember,
stages, on
yeah,
things.
and no matter what success you are, no matter what profession, you're going to have different things come your way. So every time you fail and get back up, just builds a stronger you, builds a stronger backbone. It sets you up to be more resilient. So I think if you just quit and just be like, I'm done, that's too easy. You won't be ready for that next challenge that comes your way. But if you man
Well, it's
up
interesting
and
because, you know, I can kind of relate to this right now myself because when we made kind of some points that we wanted to talk about today. We talk about uncertainty about the future.
yeah,
Right. So, we came out of the program like, okay, we're here, we're
yeah,
done. Hello,
yeah,
world. And the world's kind of like, wait, who
yeah.
are
I was
you?
like, where's all these job offers? I thought I was going to be a
Right?
professor. What's going
Who
on
are
here?
you? We're not ready
Yeah,
for you. We don't even know your name.
yeah.
Anyhow, so it was a little discouraging because I think an
Yes,
expectation
yes.
of, this kind of transition. But what did we do? We decided to just create
We're
this
going to do it
podcast
ourselves.
and get our voice out there based on our experiences.
Yes.
So, the mental toll of anything that's worthwhile. I mean, it's just that old expression, like, you know, hard work pays off. So
Yeah,
I've had moments in my life where I'm like, all right, is this true?
yeah,
Um, so it's just remembering, like, when you feel, overwhelmed or stressed or fears of failure, or whatever it is, that those are normal human emotions and you can work through them, you know?
yeah. And there's tons of studies, tons of research on the burnout, like you had mentioned. But
Yeah.
the thing with the mindfulness, like taking that time to be mindful, like, okay, I'm going through something here. It's normal. It's okay. There's so many studies that talk about the strategies of what you should do to overcome it. Like you said, going for the walk, the mindful meditation, um,
And I made a joke.
breathing,
I made a joke.
journaling.
I'm sorry. I made a
No,
joke.
go ahead.
I made a joke because I gave the commencement speech at graduation, and I made a joke, but it's actually very real. When you feel like quitting, or when things just feel so overwhelming, and you're suffering from anxiety and stress and all these things, just rest and take a nap. just take a nap.
Just take a nap and then
And
we'll
I said that everybody laughed, but it's kind of true. It kind of changes your whole perspective on things because you're probably fatigued, probably tired,
yes.
you know?
It's like when people say, I'm hungry, I'm hungry. I'm like, no, you're probably just thirsty
You
or you're
probably need
bored. I used to tell my
water.
kids, you're just bored. You're not hungry, you're bored. I have
True.
to tell that to myself now. You're not hungry, you're bored. So,
But I agree with you. Finding strategies to manage stress. I mean, we live in a society which is we
we're a
have
go, go,
so much
go.
information coming at us, and it's getting it's more. It's not getting less. So we
Yeah,
have to
no.
learn strategies to balance burnout,
Yes.
really. Um,
Yeah.
so, for me, nature walks and swimming and exercise,
Yeah.
physical, like our degrees in
Exercise
health
is
and
my
human
therapy.
performance. Right.
Yeah.
But
I
we
say
both,
it all the time.
yeah, we both believe that physical activity is important in managing these things in our lives. So, and I love the way the American College of Sports Medicine talks about it. They say, any movement is better than no movement. So there's not an expectation that I think Marilyn, you might have frozen for a second.
Wow.
There you are.
There we are. Yeah, I think we cut out for a second.
Okay, so I was saying the American College of Sports Medicine says any movement is better than no movement. So we're not saying you have to be like, a super athlete,
Oh, yeah.
but start somewhere, whether it's a walk or a slow jog or whatever it is, just to help you manage the things that we're talking about today, anxiety, burnout, stress. So
Yeah, I think so. So you want to end with some action steps?
sure. Are
Some
we already almost done? Wow, we could really talk
tidbits?
for a long
I
time.
know. It's so easy to do when you love it.
I know, it's true. Well,
So definitely want to leave with some, we kind of talked about the strategies of the mindfulness, mentorship, reach out if you are on the PhD journey, don't forget to reach out to your advisors, your cohorts. Um,
mhm,
Also be careful who you reach out to. Make sure that they're a good cheerleader and not a naysayer. Reach out to positive people. Reframing your challenges, taking those stepping stones. Definitely when it comes for time management, set those boundaries,
definitely.
right? Don't you
And
think?
yes, and I something that I learned, and it was kind of a little bit of a hard lesson, is learning to say no. And
Ah,
it's very hard when you have family obligations and social obligations, or you just want to go out and play and have fun with your friends or whatnot.
yes,
But sometimes if you say no, it opens up a space for you to um, grow and
yes,
progress in what you're working towards. So you can't handle everything. So you have
right.
to at some points say no. And that was a huge strategy for me. It
Yeah.
wasn't comfortable at first, but it kind of grew into that and it helped me a lot to stay on track.
And if you miss, there's sometimes where you miss going out with your friends, you'll catch up with them,
Yeah.
I'm always like, in about 6 weeks, I'll be able to catch up with you, like, they don't love you, right? No, I think they have to, not that they don't love you. Yes, they love you. You just have to, you know, if they get a little upset with you, it's okay. This is your dream and then this is your goal.
Yeah.
And so if they get upset, then, that's something they have to deal with.
And
But
as we continue to bring episodes to our platform, we will get better with our technology. We had a
oh
couple
yeah, I
frozen
think it's
spots today, but
cutting in and out, and I never know whose end. Then don't forget to celebrate the small wins.
yes,
Celebrate
definitely.
every small win that you have, because that's what's going to help keep you motivated. Be sure you support when needed. If you are struggling, don't forget to seek support. And then always keep your wellness in check,
Yeah,
right?
and also I'd just like to bring it back to because the studies are coming out. I just saw one this morning, was focused more on athletes, but the your sleep and the quality of your sleep.
So
Um,
important.
if if you're walking around sleep deprived, it doesn't really matter if you're a PhD student or
Yeah.
you're retired or, wherever you are in your life. It really can impact you physically, mentally, emotionally, in all aspects of your life and as
And
well.
it's daily. It's daily.
Yeah.
People think, well, if I sleep all of tomorrow, then that'll be good. I'm like, no, 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 no. Your
Yes.
body works on
It's
this 24-hour schedule. It's a day. Like it's the same with people eating. If I eat this many calories today, you know, tomorrow. No, it's your body needs a certain amount of nutrition and sleep. And
yeah.
so, and that's a day. So you have to keep it that way.
So, okay, so as we wrap up week two, our second episode, we had a couple
Yay.
little glitches today. Well, every week we'll get better,
Ah, that's so weird.
but we'll
Oh
get
well.
better at it, and you'll see us grow too into this platform. That's what really life is all
Into
about.
our new career.
Yes, yes, it's always about growth, and Marilyn, you and I are very much for that. And
Oh
the
yeah.
more I get to know you, I really see it. Marilyn offers wellness coaching, and I've learned so much from her just as far as it's called No Excuses
Oh,
wellness
thank you.
coaching, and I've learned so
Yay.
much from you about how to manifest your goals, making boards and writing things down, and so
Yes.
really excellent. Um,
Right. You as
next,
a writer, you as a writer, writing for a magazine. And so I think knowing that I can bump these things off of you, like a newsletter coming up. And so I definitely think we've got a great uh, working relationship here.
yes.
This is wonderful.
Okay, so next week, we're going to talk about, you know, some of the physical struggles of when you're so focused on a goal, how you could like neglect your health. And I can tell you, I can give you personal examples of like ending up with the flu or COVID
Ah,
or in the
yeah.
hospital because
I'm
thought
sick
I was,
right now. My
yeah, I thought I was
goodness,
having a
it's
heart
terrible.
attack, but it was a panic attack. But how do you just take
I
care? How do you
know.
take, and you push
Yeah, I'm
hard.
sick now.
Yeah. So,
Having my daughter move all day was total stress on the body.
but we're going to talk about how to take care of yourself, and we're learning too for ourselves. So we hope that you learn with us. And,
Yeah.
please leave us comments, give us suggestions and
Questions.
questions. And we're happy to be here.
Yes.
Anything else, Marilyn?
No, I think it was great. So this week we'll leave off with celebrating the wins. Celebrate all your small wins. Last week, believe in yourself. Now we need to celebrate every win that comes across.
Excellent. All right. Well, we'll see everybody next week.
All right. Bye. Till next week.
Bye.